Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be asked to give an address at this August Asia Pacific Regional Education Minister Conference. My address would cover 4 points: equity, Sustainable Development Goal or SDGs, human capital, wealth of the nation, and equity for all. The first point is equity. What does equity mean to you? For Thailand, the journey of equity in education has started over 30 years ago. In 1990, Thailand has an opportunity to host a historical event in education, the World Conference on Education for All, meeting basic learning needs in Jomtien, where the world of education came together to set the goal and evolution of thinking that was to be known later as Education for All or EFA. 30 years later, in 2020, Thailand revisited Education for All again by hosting the first online conference on equitable education with the theme Education for All and All for Education, together with the Princess Mahachakri Award Foundation, the UNICEF, the UNESCO, and Save the Children, to review what had transpired over the past 3 decades, and to see what needs to be done to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 4, ensuring inclusive and equitable education by 2030. It was then the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic when its first online Equitable Education Conference was held. At that time, we educators were still hoping that the pandemic would be subdued and that life would go on as normal soon. Little that we know that it has become now part of our lives and our children's lives for almost 3 years now. From that conference in 2020, we have learned that equity in education was not only about the lack of access to primary schooling, nor enrollment, nor functional literacy, nor completion of basic education, nor acquisition of essential knowledge and skills. But there are factors that serve as game changers, such as partnership and alliance to promote equitable education, legal framework with regular and innovative budget systems, lifelong learning, technology and data. These are essential factors well beyond the realm of traditional education that drives the equity in education. The second point, the SDGs. From the first online conference, we also learned that there are still a lot that need to be done to ensure inclusive and equitable education by 2030, as stated in the SDG goals. Thus, the journey on equity in education for Thailand continues and has become more challenging. The pandemic continues to shake the world of education to its core. It has widened the equity gap and made the SDG goal more difficult to reach. It also makes us realize that amidst all the crises, there are opportunities. The pandemic gives us opportunity to relook or hack education and how we could address the equity gaps. In 2020s decade, in the US, one asks about hacking education to make education more relevant, user-oriented, and affordable. It gives rise to linking education world to production world. We may have to hack education again in the context of the new normal world after COVID-19, linking education world to the new normal world. From my experiences being a policymaker, an educator, an engineer, a thinker, and proudly a still working teacher, equity means fairness, equal opportunity, and quality of life. To me, equity matters because it can help change students' life and foster peaceful societies that are human-friendly. To achieve SDG 4, It is no longer just the last mile challenge, who are most difficult and hardest and most expensive to reach that are our concern. Point 3 that I'd like to make is human capital, which are linked to wealth of the nation. Why equity matters. Ladies and gentlemen, we all have to admit that the fact that the world is not level and people are not born level, but we can help by making a level playing field for them. We need to create fairness, enhance capability of teachers and community so that they can provide support to their children's learning. We need to bring classroom to the children, not the other way around, that we bring children to the classroom. We are concerned about children that are most marginalized and are unreachable. Equip them with basic literacy and functional literacy, which are the fundamental of learning and future work. Recent examples are my experiences with the Equitable Education Foundation of Thailand and the Princess Mahachakri Award Foundation in remote mountainous provinces, whereby Thai children with Thai identification numbers cannot speak Thai. How can we turn blind seeing our fellow country children who cannot speak, read, or write language of a country, of their citizenship? Such citizens have all the doors to the world completely shut for them, for life. For Thailand, we have been ranked as an upper middle income country. Thailand's vision as stipulated in the 20 years National Strategic Plan covering 2018 to 2037 is Thailand becomes a developed country with security, prosperity, and sustainability in accordance with the sufficiency economy philosophy of our last king, Rama IX. It has become the country's motto. Together with this 20-year strategic plan is the 13th National Economic and Social Development Plan, which are the roadmap of country's development. Both plans put a lot of emphasis on developing human capital. I was involved in the development of both plans. To pursue goals that are set in the plans, the main challenge is with the quality of Thai people. Quality Thai people is the Thailand's important capital, which needs a lot of investment efforts from all parties and sectors. Quality and capable human capital is the most powerful and imperative factor which lead to Thailand development. This is to make the country competitive with growth and attain social equality and equity. Moreover, Thailand is expected to become an aged society in the near future. Our demographic transition with low birth rate and high number of elderly people, the country has already entered into an aging society with substantial numbers of its citizens socially and economically marginalized, not just as children. This has posed challenges to the country's development. Thus, bridging the equality and disparity can help Thailand reach the goal of becoming a developed country with sustainable social and economic growth. Closing the equity gaps will create equality and lead to the quality of Thai people who are the Thailand human capital, assets for Thailand and for the wealth of the nation. This is why equity matters. The fourth point I'm making is Thailand's commitment towards equity in education. How can we provide equity for all? The Thai government set up the Equitable Education Fund, or EEF, in 2018 as an integral part of the Thailand National Reform Agenda and established EEF Act in 2018. The fund is to help Thailand achieve SDG 4 by 2030, targeting the poorest children and youth from families under the poverty line. The EEF fund provides, among other things, first, equity scholarship, supplementary money for food and school traveling allowances for basic education students, numbering 1.3 million in 2022. Second, scholarships for vocational students, 2,500 each year for 5 years. And thirdly, home-based teachers, 1,500 teachers, educating students from marginalized areas to be teachers for their village schools. In the new context of the COVID-19, EAF set 3 main goals. Each child can go to school and receive appropriate supports according to their needs, both physical and mental, including other relevant needs. Secondly, every child receives help and support to accommodate the learning losses while the schools are closed. Thirdly, each teacher receives support and professional development to solve problems of students' learning losses and enable teachers to integrate technology into their teaching. We need to ensure that our students and children receive adequate development and education so that they can reach their full potential and become quality human capital. This means that the design of teaching has to be adjusted. Teachers' roles have to be transformed. A lifelong learning system has to be established to ensure continued human capital development. My experience for nearly 5 decades involving education, human resources, and rural education teaches me that the journey on equity in education in Thailand is still a long and difficult path. But we have to traverse this path and complete it eventually. We cannot stop or slow down. Notwithstanding cumulative problems on equity and education quality, for some that have been addressed, COVID-19 inflicts further damages to all children with learning losses and lack of opportunity to access quality education. We have to continue our journey on this path to create equity and reduce inequity in both social and economic contexts. This, I believe, is how we can create the level field for the unreachable. Thank you very much.